Hi everybody, Manucha for Moms and Crafters here, and today I am going to share with you a really fun craft that still exists in our home. So, fun fact, I've been doing this that is not really so much YouTubing so much as creating blog posts and craft tutorials for well over 10 years. I basically started when my oldest was a newborn. I didn't start doing exactly what I'm doing now, but I started sharing craft ideas around then, and he is almost 12 now. So I have a craft that I created in 2019, so it was quite deep into blogging, um, but quite a long time ago. That is like about 6 years ago that I made these. I found it in my August 2019 folders, and I wanted to reshare it with you. I still have the original footage, so I'm just re-editing it. This is a super fun bracelet. This actually is not my first zipper bracelet that I've created, but I sort of remade an old tutorial at that point, and it's so cute. My kids still have them and play with them. So a lot of them were missing, but the ones that they have, they still play with. And it is so affordable. Now, I made these before the Dollar Tree started carrying zipper fidget bracelets. I don't think they have them anymore. But shortly after I made these, maybe a couple years after, Dollar Tree started carrying bracelets that were made slightly different, but they were also a zipper fidget. So I don't know necessarily that they got the idea from me. It wasn't extra viral or anything, but it was quite popular. I decided to reshare a full-length tutorial for you now because my previous video was a very quick one. So my older son actually heard me doing this and he brought these to me. These are the exact same ones that you see in the video, and you could see there's a little bit of fraying, there's a little bit of, distress, but they are intact. None of these broke, none of these unraveled. So the process of making these might seem like a bit of a convoluted process, but it is quite easy. The idea of it is to make it easy, really easy. He now can make it. I made it for them, but he can now make it himself. Um, and very, very durable. So this has been through a lot and it's still here, besides for the ones that got lost. So there you go. Those are the exact ones you'll see me making in the video. The idea of these bracelets is that using very basic materials, colorful zippers, paracord buckles, and embroidery floss, you make a toy that is wearable around the wrist, that can be connected to and hang from backpack straps, that makes a great travel toy, fidget, on the go, just little fun thing. And I can't even begin to tell you how fun these ended up being. So you can turn these into a little chain. You can zip, you can unzip them, you can connect them together in a long line. And my kids would sometimes put it around their neck. And you can even use it as sort of like a lanyard string in that larger iteration, as a belt. It's really very, very playable and versatile. And, for kids who just like to do something with their hand, buckles and zippers are really, really fun. Think about how they might play with the zipper on their hoodie, or the buckle on, if they have one of those knapsacks that buckle in the front. I know my kids like playing with it. So the idea of this really is that it's not just a fidget, it's a little bit construction, even though it's not really a construction toy. It's wearable, and you can definitely make a set of these as a gift. And as I mentioned, the process is quite simple. And it might seem like not the first way you'd expect to do it. You might automatically think to sort of sew it, but it is extremely, extremely durable and so simple. I would say my almost 12-year-old who is not very crafty can probably do it. A crafty 8-year-old can probably do it. But yeah, these are fun, and I'm so excited to show it to you. The little hands in the picture are my kids at ages, he must have been 6, and the other one must have been 3. Oh, he would have been almost 6. So that's my 3-year-old. And the bigger set of hands that you saw is my almost 6-year-old, who are now almost 12 and 9. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this tutorial. The original blog post with step-by-step instructions and of course a list to all the supplies that I personally bought on Amazon is in the description of this video. So we're starting with a paracord buckle, and we're folding over the ends of the zipper, the end without the zipper, the end with the metal tab that stops it, and we are threading it through the end of the paracord buckle and folding it over. Now, you kind of want to get this, you might need to wiggle it a little bit. You kind of want to get it somewhat neat so that it folds inward nicely. And if you do need a little bit of assistance, you can trim it, but I can't guarantee it'll last as long. Now, we're using coordinating embroidery thread with an embroidery needle and knotting the end, and then we're threading it from back to front on the right side of that zipper through both sides, and then again a stitch over the zipper and towards the back, and we're pulling that tight so we have one stitch holding it in place. Now we're going to do something a little bit unexpected. Instead of continuing to sew, we are going to wrap. Now, there's no exact amount of times that you need to do this. I think I did it about 10 times. You can go back and count for me, but that's unimportant. You want to do it until it looks like it's nice and secure. And then you're going to work on the back of your piece, and you're essentially going to create a stitch on each side of the wrapping sort of the zipper. But first, we're going to sort of bundle all the threads together so that they stay closed. So we did that by sort of running the needle underneath all the threads and pulling that tight. And then you go one more time so that it creates sort of like a wrap around that entire wrapped bundle of thread. And that kind of stops it from, moving around and separating. Now we're going to go and create that stitch on either side. So you're going to go from back to front, but you do want to look at the front side of it for now to make sure you're doing it in the right place. You're going to come up on the right side of your zipper center and underneath the bundle, and you're going to go back to front and then back towards the back over the whole bundle, and that secures it in place in the front. Now on the back, we're crossing over to the other side, and once again, we're inserting it beneath that bundle of thread on the left side of the zipper this time. And we're pulling it back to front and making that stitch over the bundle of threads on the left side of the zipper. So this is like a bit of a, multi-step process for what should be simple, but it really, really works. And it's easy, and once you do a few of them, you won't even need to refer to the tutorial anymore, possibly even after you do one bracelet. So now we're on the back of our work, and we do want to secure it pretty well over there. So first we make one overhand knot. You can definitely do two. You're going to pull it nice and tight. I had a little bit of fraying at some point. You do want to make sure you're using a decent thread. And then you're going to just take the whole thing, and just to sort of secure it a little bit more, you're going to thread it underneath your bundle. That way the knot is not like really at the end of the thread, but you don't have a tail that's loose. So now you can trim it right over there, and it is going to be very, very secure, even if this last little bit does come loose. Of course, you can add a little bit of glue, but you really don't need to. Like I told you, mine got so much abuse and it lasted for years. Now open up your zipper halfway or a little bit more. You could open it all the way. It doesn't really matter. You just want that zipper out of the way. And you're basically going to repeat this process on the other side. So make your end fit into the end. And again, you want to sort of fold in the side so that it sits neatly. And really, I should have separated the buckle before I did this, but you also want to make sure you're doing it the right way. So you can definitely first sort of place it inside the other half of the paracord buckle and then open it up so that you can work a little more normally. Now you're going to sort of figure out how long you need your bracelet to be. So if you've already made bracelets like this, I just used a previous one that I made as a reference. So just hold it up against each other. Or of course you can measure it against your child's wrist, which I guess would be the more practical way of doing this. But again, once you've made one, you don't have to bother your child anymore. You can just slide it up to where it belongs. And now we're going to repeat that whole process. So just to remind you, a stitch across the front, back to front, wrap around, let's say about 10 times. And then a stitch on each side wrap it around once. A stitch on each side, securing the bundle from back to front, crisscrossing in the back. And then once underneath your bundle, knot it. I think I might have missed the once underneath the bundle on the first side, so it's obviously not that important, but definitely makes it more secure. And then you go underneath the bundle once more, but of course, if you have any, flyaways, you can trim it first or after. Now that your end is fully secured, you can simply trim off the excess zipper. And yes, you can trim it all the way to the end because it's fully secured in place and you don't want to have any extra bits sticking out. How easy is that? It took me maybe about an hour to make a full set of these. It really was simple. And it was a set that, yes, two siblings shared and they exchanged a little bit and they really had good memories around it. So go ahead and make it in a bunch of different colors. And in just one moment, I'm going to show you all the different ways that they can play with it. So one of their favorite things to do with these zipper bracelets was to make these like chains, paper chain style, where you loop them together. And they walked around the airport with these dangling from their backpacks. They used them as keychains. It was stored out, so they had easy access to it. Another thing they liked to do with it was simply to connect them together in one long rope to see how long they could make it. And my 6-year-old at the time really liked dangling that around his neck, something about that. But again, you can open up the end and connect it to, different charms. There's so much you can do with this. You can use it as sort of like a tether strap to hold on to a baby toy, even. And of course, just opening and closing the zippers is lots of fun. You could actually get quite intricate with how you weave them together because you can like leave the zippers open or partially open or connect it like that. And while you're not going to get anything really constructed out of playing it like this, it was kind of fun for my kids to sort of experiment with how much they can tangle them together. Kids kind of like doing that kind of thing. And finally, of course, they just loved wearing them. Especially my older son, who at that stage really enjoyed having things around his wrist. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Just a reminder, you can find a link to the blog post with all the supplies, all my tips for making these in the description of this video. Make sure you subscribe for more fun craft tutorials like this one and hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Comment if you have any questions.